this should work now. Let's see. Let's see. What do we have currently ongoing in the stream? Ah, lovely. Everything seems to be working as it should. Just need to make sure that we have the right proper sound input. Then that should do. Good thing. Let's see. Right, okay. Now we just need to check the mixer. Is it on mono? It is on mono. Okay, lovely. So we can just copy this link. Alright, so what do we actually need to get? What do we actually need to get done on the stream is the question. Let's do just a Alright, so let's see, what do we have? So kind of what I want to go for is I want to go for something that is not something that is kind of it has to be, you know, clear in what like our expectations is, but at the same time it shouldn't be so restrictive that it becomes, you know, that it becomes stifling for these institutes. Ideally, we want to have something where each institute has their own autonomy, but can still rely on us to help them out. Welcome to everybody who is currently watching, by the way. Oh boy, my favorite podcast. Yeah, I know, right? This is going to be an exciting one. It's literally just me trying to figure out how to run the whole partnership thing. Because currently we do have, if we go up to partners up here, we are partnered with the Fine Arts Guild, and we are partnered with the Trask Institute. Now, the Trask Institute has a very interesting setup in the way how they do their courses. They set it up based on years. They usually start their... Is my mic a bit low? Is this better, Infra? Oh boy, is that Yodric Philosophers Guild? Yeah, I am Yodric Philosophers Guild. But you can see how they usually start each course with like a lecture, which is a good way for them to gauge interest. Now, we're not going to impede on any of this. I don't want to force each institute to kind of do it like this, because I feel like that would be a bit stifling for them, right? So I'm just saying that this is a good way to do it. Have a opening lecture and see kinda what you like, see what works, you know, and then go on to doing like proper courses based on these. Of course, I definitely suggest like setting up the course straight away and then making a lecture based on the course. But I digress. This is just kind of a side tangent. So the main idea is for this to be mutually beneficial. So the first thing is that I personally would like to see, and if you guys have other ideas to this, then go ahead. But I personally would like to see partner or institutes not force people to pay to like study, but because the idea is that knowledge, especially for the guild, is that knowledge should be free and accessible to everyone. Now, something that by the way, if the music is a bit low or a bit high, tell me. But what I would like to see kind of is, yeah, that it is accessible. Now, I heard something about entrance exams on other institutes. Now, I'm not entirely opposed to this. The thing I can be opposed to is if it's irrelevant to the course someone is applying to. Let's say somebody makes a course on conlanging, like PD6's course on conlanging. Doing an entry exam with math in it is kind of irrelevant. But let's say we're gonna take an example here. Let's say we have Mr. Infrapaxis, who is here in chat. If we take his paper, the bedrock ceiling, or like anything he makes, really, a lot of his papers have a basis in math. Let's say he makes a math course. I think it's fair for him to have an entry exam if he does a math course, because you would expect students who want to learn advanced math to have an understanding of basic math, right? I think that makes perfect sense. So I don't want to impede on that. It's just that an entry exam should be like course specific, not for an entire institute. I also think that if you want to do as an institute, do a personal letter, or ask for a personal letter to like gauge the interest and like the seriousness of a student, so you can like pick and choose which students you actually want in the course, especially if you have a limited amount of places in the course. I definitely think that is good, because the people who are ultimately the most interested in the course should arguably be the ones who are given priority to the course. I'm not sure what you guys think about that. If you have any complaints or suggestions on that. Can't check my DMs live on stream, that would be awkward. Let's see. So, firstly, what I want to see, kind of the requirements then, to like partner with the guild. Like, if you are it will be different for like institutes and other guilds. For instance, if it's another guild, we'll bring up Conclave of Sorcery as an example. I do agree with that, Infra. If you have a high level course which requires knowledge, then definitely that is what you really should go for. But like, let's say I do, for instance, in my case, if I were to do a course on scientific writing, I really just expect people to know basic grammar. That would be probably the only thing I would expect. But for like higher level arithmetic and stuff, as you mentioned, or higher level maths, then it is definitely like you should expect the people who come there to be able to like prove that they are capable of that course. So having an entrance exam for high level courses, it makes perfect sense to me. So we're gonna do this. We're gonna do requirements for guilds versus requirements for institutes. Now, currently the only institute we are partnered with is Trask. If Calandrian University applies to this, we will also, of course, consider them. I also know that Fighting Flames wants to do his Institute 2, which we are very interested in seeing. Now, for the requirements for the guild, I think one big one is just that it is viable. And when I say viable, it needs to be viable as if we take like a guild that doesn't see any form of recruitment, it doesn't see any form of activity, and it doesn't see, like, it has to show that it's viable for growth and viable for a time investment from the guild. Infra says, yeah, but I have a sort of loophole where if the student doesn't have the necessary prerequisites, but is highly motivated, I allow them to do a research-based degree. That is actually really good. Yeah, I think I agree with that, Madison. So what we really want to see is a guild has to be viable. This means this means what would we say? What did I say? I forgot what I said. We can do as you said, stable. So this means stable growth and activity. Now, of course, things go like up and down in waves, of course. You can't have constant explosion of activity. Like currently in the guild, in the Philosophers Guild, we are seeing a bit of a slowdown on the recruitment. In recent days, we've seen a bit of a slight spike over what our typical recruitment has been since we reached 400 members. But so we can't really expect it to constantly be a fucking upwards hill where it's 10 members a day. That is completely unrealistic. But I think so. Growth, I would say stable activity and good member retention. Because think of it, a lot of guilds or a lot of or like anything on Stoneworks. This is a Stoneworks-wide issue. This is something Stoney himself has talked about, and that is the new player retention. Now, new player retention is difficult, especially with kind of the community that Stoneworks kind of works with. This idea of like having in-groups, which are like, you know, you have friend groups, they do their own thing. They have the group chat, leadership chat, right? In each nation. And they kind of use that as a general chat, which results in bad retention of new members, since they aren't given much to be like interact with. So good member retention is something we want to see, because if they stick around and they're active, that means a stable activity. Let's see. What would you argue is like a reasonable time period for a guild to let's see. When I used to be in Ashkavari was several friend groups under one banner. Yeah. And what this kind of creates is it creates the sense of in-groups, and you can't really, it's not very approachable. We've tried to, a month or less, I would say a month then. Now, something I also want to see is a guild has to have similar end goals to us. This doesn't necessarily mean that they have to do what we do, but I think what our end goal is to foster world building and kind of create something where that people can like add to themselves, if we like, for instance, we wouldn't partner with like the Nalton Build Guild, or we wouldn't partner with like a PvP guild, because that doesn't make sense. Like, that isn't really what we're doing with a guild. However, we are partnered with the Fine Arts Guild. If another guild shows up and it's about like Cartography Guild, I think the Cartography Guild could be interesting, since they do kind of have the same like world. Since it is a world building thing, arguably. I think that would have to be something I deliberate with my fellow guild leaders with, but definitely I think anything that is like, in the sense, world building, have mostly world building focus, would be viable for a partnership with us. This means that the guild is mainly centered around world building. So anything that is mainly centered around world building. This kind of funny. I have British on. This kind of puts if we take the Brewing Guild, it kind of puts it on the edge of this. Also, I forgot to actually do this. The world building. This kind of puts the Brewery Guild on this weird edge between world building and metagaming, which is something that I've been kind of curious about looking into, because it's such a big part of like what defines it as world building. Where is the line? I think that it is an interesting. I think what we really would put the line at is, does this add to the lore? Let's say, like, is the goal to add to the lore? If something inadvertently adds to the lore, that's not the same as intentionally going for lore. Let's say, for instance, it depends on the brew. With the Brewery Guild, some are lore and some are PvP. Exactly. So it's we're kind of on the edge of world building and on the edge of being on the edge of, what should we say, metagaming. Yeah, maybe defining it more as being able to synthesize new knowledge. True, but at the same time, that's also we need to find something that isn't super vague, which what I already have is quite vague already. So the question is centered around world building and adding This means adding lore. Let's say that adding lore, synthesizing new knowledge. We might need to change the word synthesizing later, just to avoid two big words in a guide. Essentially, what is a guide document? Adding lore, synthesizing new knowledge. Question is, what else? What does world building mean to you guys? I'm quite curious. Like, what would categorize? Hey, Maya. What would categorize world building? Is the question here. So it could be like adding lore, sure, in I suppose like all its forms. Synthesizing new knowledge would mean creating new ideas or challenging old ideas. Building a world. True, but what does building a world mean? That's a question. That's a question in extension. And like, how do we build a world? Building history and ideas. Okay, this means adding history of Abexilus, synthesizing new knowledge, and pushing not pushing ideas, and forming ideas. Any creation of new information which further enhances our understanding of the world. That is like, I'm gonna just grab that infra. I'm just gonna copy paste that in there. Let's see. Ah, lovely formatting. There you go. So this means any creation of new information which further enhances our understanding of the world, or creates new ideas, I'd say. Yeah, ideas like culture, and religion and everything in between. Yeah, that's called plagiarism. You will be reported to authorities for further questioning. May I use your writing then, Infra? Plagiarism, never heard of her. Plagiarize? I never heard of her. I'm so fun. We're so funny in this guild, actually. Let's see. Stream is, as usual, kinda slow. That's an internet issue on my part, sadly. You will. Alright, thank you. Now, let's see. These are the main two requirements we kind of want to see. Now, there are some other requirements, such as a partner guild must have a partnered guild must have a link, a clear link to the SW Philosophers Guild Discord server, as well as have a dedicated channel for partnership, for announcements from the guild. So basically what this means is that if we make an announcement, we want that announcement to be also seen in our partner servers. It doesn't mean they have to make a specific channel for us, but ideally it would be in like a, for instance, as we have in the Philosophers Guild, we have a partnership or partner announcements guild. Or I'm not sure what I'm saying. We have a partner announcements channel. No, they are not partnered with each other. They don't have to be partnered with each other. That is entirely up to them. So let's say, for instance, if we go to our partnerships once again, these two are not partnered with each other. But we are partnered with both of them, and we have all of their announcements go to our partner announcements channel, which is ideally what we want to see for us, that our partners do as well. We're gonna leave that for now because I'm more well changed for the guild in the question for being a partner. Oh no! This can be this can be in an announcements channel that announces all partnered guild, all partners that the guild has. Guild in question has. Fuck off, Grammarly. This can be in an announcement channel that announces all partners that the guild in question has, and not just the Stoneworks Philosophers Guild, meaning like a combined one. This will of course be written up better later. Madison asked what will change for the guild in question for being partner. Well, not much really. It's more so that we just aid each other with. Partnership between guilds is more like we can do events together, we help each other with marketing, basically. Oh my god, this stream is so slow for me. I'm getting your responses like 5 minutes after. It's great. Love that. The problem I have is that I live in the woods, so that's why that is going on. Now, the requirement for institutes, I think it's fair for us to say that if we're gonna partner with an institute, they should not take payment from Druid. What about Druid? I need to look up how to increase stream speed on YouTube. Druid, me? I have no idea what you're asking me, Madison. See. All right. So I think it's fair if we're gonna work with an institute that the institute does not. The difference between a partnered guild and a partnered institute. A partnered institute is we are gonna be way more involved in the. If we're doing a partnership with an institute, we want to be way more involved in helping. Like, for a guild, we might, like, partner up for events and stuff, and partner up for marketing. But when it comes to, like, when it comes to institutes, we will be guiding our members towards institutes that might have courses that they would like to attend. In the future, if the guild starts becoming more financially secure and more, like, getting a more stable income, we might start funding institutes as well. Ideally, we would like to be able to do that. We also just want to help we want to give kind of a forum for institutes to be able to, like, both communicate between each other, but also communicate with the guild, and just help them grow, just help them in broad senses. Now, if there are any more ideas for that would be lovely. What if you delegated some of the publication to institutes in such a way that the institutes can publish paper journals, but on a specific topic? So what we can do, which is that we can make a kind of a newspaper channel for in the guild, and subscribe to any, like, paper journals that they have, so that those show up in so that those show up in our guild as well. It would be interesting if we have anyone here who runs an institute to like come talk. I'll DM. Let me ping Dread actually. Alright, we'll see if Dread responds to this. This is tremendously... The latency is crazy on my computer. I'm so sorry about that, lads. Now... The requirements for institutes it's not going to be heavy requirements. We just want them to publish our announcements, and if you want to hop in the VC with me, if you're comfortable with being up here on stream, then I would love that, because it's easier for me to communicate with you directly like that, if that's fine. Infra. Let's see, if so, just hop in a VC and I'll drag you. Like this. I'm gonna do this. You have a school that needs help funding. So right now it's not economically viable for us to actually fund anything with the construction of the spire going on, since that is as some of you know, it is a massive project to just get it designed. Getting it built is going to be a mess in its own, but hopefully it's not too expensive. If we have money over afterwards, like yeah, the most expensive thing is going to be probably building it once it's... if you look here, we have... Dread has been working on a theater for the entertainment district, so big up to him, and I really look forward to seeing that getting done. Now, okay, let's see, Infrapaxis, I'll drag you in. Hello, Infrapaxis. Do you want me to... no, are you gonna...
Yeah, I can talk.
Okay, lovely.
No problem.
So the question... the question here is, what would you, as somebody who does institute stuff, what would you expect us to do to help institutes?
Okay, so the current state of the science department at Caledon University is essentially a one-man show, because there aren't many people interested in science, moreover science in Stonework, so it's a bit hard to find motivated people, but the current trajectory is we have these courses, we can educate people further, make them interested in the topics, and then later on for their master's or PhD at Caledon University, they could do a research-based degree And
Right.
at that scale, we would essentially have these little mini projects which will lead to publication.
Right.
So
Okay.
in the same form that I publish my papers, that would be essentially the same form.
Got it.
But instead of just having a single person publish a single paper, there will be multiple people doing this massive project and then documenting it and sending it over for publication.
Okay.
So the position I would like maybe to have with the Philosophers Guild would be maybe for starters to have some sort of, let's say, a direct connection to potential candidates. So I don't think a lot of people know that there is even a science program at Caledonian University.
Right.
So that's one way of supporting. And then later maybe the Philosophers Guild could effectively teach certain courses which are related. Like you mentioned scientific writing. I also have a class which is, I think, just called a seminar in scientific writing, where one lecture would be like learning LaTeX and
Right.
formatting documents. So that sort of also help could be good, where people from the Philosophers Guild who aren't necessarily like full-on professors but have certain skills
Like
that they can teach.
lecturers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like we have designed the curriculum in such a way that there are like regular classes and then there are seminars, where each seminar is essentially a collection of one-off lectures given by different people. Like for example, we planned on designing this seminar for use of AI in Abexilis, where Jima would essentially give one lecture about how you could essentially automate certain workflows, etc., etc.
Right. So what I've written up here, really shortly, is that the Stoneworks. This is just a beginning thing, that we will offer marketing for courses and help and job applications for lecturers for the institutes. We can rewrite that as and offer lecturers to the institutes for courses, or for their courses. What do you think about that? The wording, yeah. Because what we kind of want is we want to ensure that like learning becomes a part of Stoneworks, of course, and for that we want to like take an active part in, like as you said, helping you like get the people you need, like the faculty you need to do what you want to do. What else can we offer? What I would like to do. I was thinking of something. I would like to. I'm gonna have to think on that. Because I want to, of course. So we will help you find lecturers.
What if you also we talked about this yesterday about having disciples and people essentially learning from certain higher ups. Maybe have it connected to certain institutes by having, instead of just doing simple disciple work, you can effectively do some research-based project with some sort of professor at some sort of institute, which in turn, if you wanted to count as a disciple work, after the collaboration, you need to have some work which you can publish.
What we'll write here is students completing institute what should we say, courses, or should we say institute projects courses, or courses slash projects, will have that counted towards their they're counted as disciple work and towards their guild level. Lecturers teaching at an institute will have their courses counted as taking on disciples and towards their guild level. So basically, if you work at a institute and like do lectures, we will count that towards, for instance, if you want to become a master in our system, you have to have had disciples, and we've had this actually for the Trask. We just haven't written it down formally. But what we want to do is that counts towards becoming a master in the guild, because it shows that you are actually taking on disciples, and it can be. I think this can be kind of liberating for some people who don't like doing like the personal disciple stuff, but still want to like teach broadly.
Yeah. Just there should be like a very specific requirement, because this, even though it can be liberating, can be also used as a loophole. So there should be like very strict checking and essentially authorization by the Philosophers Guild that the courses and the actual teaching needs to be verified by the Philosophers Guild, not the actual institute.
Yeah. What we'll do when we come to the place where we're gonna look into upgrading someone to a master is that we will ask the people who have studied under them, like, their experiences of this person as a teacher, so to see if they are viable for the master rank. It's the same thing for like disciples. If you have completed a course and gotten and like passed a course, that it means that you've probably learned. Okay, let's actually write passing institutes, courses and projects. So if you pass a course, that means that you have learned something, right? In the case of personal disciples, like I take on my disciples, I don't do lectures at any institutes, but the way I take them on, if let's say somebody's gonna level up to adept as one of my disciples, in that case we'll I would be asked, like, do you think this person is ready to level up to adept? And then I can say yes or no and like explain why. So it is kind of a case-by-case basis. We don't want to do it too systemized, because systemizing this process wouldn't really be effective for what we want to achieve.
Okay, but it creates a small problem where because each institute can have its own sort of standardization.
Right.
If I, for example, finish one course in one institute, that can be equal to maybe 5 courses in a different one. Like, right. I know that, for example, some of my courses, which are like introductory courses, can be passed by just looking at the presentation 5 minutes before doing the test, and you'll probably can get more than 80%.
So what we can write here then, can I do this? This is judged on a case by case. It's judged on a case by case basis. Thank you for autocorrecting that Grammarly. In which the guild will ask lecturers about their students as disciple work, and students about their lecturers towards becoming a master. So basically, if we're see that somebody has like the attendance requires meant for adept, we might go to you. We'll ask them, okay, well, who have you studied under? And then we'll talk to the person they've studied under. So, for instance, if somebody does your courses, we'll ask you, do you believe this person has learned enough to be considered an adept in the guild?
Okay.
So we'll go directly to you and ask you, and that's how we want to do with like in most cases anyway. So we can just make sure that is just for every situations, and the same will go for like. The same will go for. If the other way around, if like an adept is to become a master, they have to take disciples. So in the case of an institute, we will ask their students be like, do you think this person is is a good teacher and fits the role of a master?
Okay. That sounds good. I mean, this will only be like a nuisance for like new teachers and new courses. After a while, after maybe 2 or 3 students and 2 or 3 courses, I think that the numbers will somehow show us specific statistics. So it would be easier to judge if the student can become an adept and if an adept can become a master.
Definitely. Let's see. What else do we want to? Now the question is, what else do we want to offer? Because we want to make sure. Let's say right like this. In the case that the Stoneworks Philosophers Guild has a surplus in funds, we may provide funds towards institutes and their projects. This will be reviewed by guild leadership, reviewed and what is the word I'm looking for? Accepted? Not really accepted, right? Approved by guild leadership. So let's say in the case that, let's say an institute is like, okay, we want to do a big, like, we want to do an event about like, or like a, what should we say, like a science fair or whatever, but we need some money to do it. Then we'll like look into it and see like how this work, how it might work, and then from that we would, what would be a surplus? Where would the line be? It would be, the surplus would be, honest, I'm gonna be real, a surplus will have to be judged on a case-by-case basis too, because right now I think in liquid we have around 700,000 just laying around. Now this doesn't count towards our actual like worth, but, or well, it does count towards our actual worth, but it isn't our entire worth, but it is what we can spend. So let's say right now we can't offer funds since we're constructing the you can embezzle funds out of Crusaders. You are lucky that Marco isn't. You're lucky Marco isn't watching this right now. At least I don't think he is. He might be. But has a... We can write this. In the case that a guild has a comfortable amount of funds. The thing is, it needs to be like economically viable towards us. Like, is it worth it for us to spend a certain amount of money on an event? Let's say somebody says like, oh no, I want to do an event which like is basically just for me to show off, just to show off. Then why would we spend money on that? If it promotes if it will actually increase activity either for the guild or the institute and promote further applications towards institutes or the guild, or have a substantial effect on keeping an institute or the guild active, in those cases we would probably give funds, because that shows us that this is something that is worth spending our money on. Now the question is, what else can we do? The Stoneworks Philosophers Guild will also announce institute announcements in the partner announcements channel. So like if an institute, and this is something I encourage. Who is sending me friend requests? This case, okay. In the case of, and this is something I encourage all. I am not finding the channel. What I encourage all institutes to do, or any like any partner, is if they feel like their announcement is worth sending over to us, is to hit the publish button, because a lot of people miss this. Even the Stoneworks Discord server misses this on like on the changelog sometimes. So we don't always get everything we need to like see what's going on in the changelog. Hold on 1 second. I think, is Callan actually part of the Philosophers Guild? He is, right? I believe. Is he? Now, okay, we're gonna go into the requirements real quick, because right now I'm blanking on everything else. So, requirements for... I think it's fair for us, because it's for academic writing, I think it's fair for us to ask that they use our publication standards. And this will actually also help with, let's say somebody does a paper for an institute and they want it published in the Philosophers Guild, then it's the easiest transfer ever, because they don't have to adjust any of the standards either. But the requirements is, I would say, the institute must also fighting. Ask Aurelius, not me. I don't have the permission to do that without her permission. So ask her first. The institute must have a channel for guild announcements. I think that's fair.
I think you can cut the work by requiring that institutes must have the same requirements as guilds, and then the additional
Well, so
requirements.
the thing is, the viability thing, the stable activity and good member retention. We want the thing is we want to help with that more with institutes, so we're not going to require it from institutes.
Okay.
Because essentially we're taking on the burden of marketing for and making sure that an inflow of students come into the institutes.
Okay.
So, and having similar goals to us, I think that's a given. A partnered. Now I'm just gonna go in with each word here. Institute. The institute papers must follow guild publication standards. This is to ensure, because the other thing is that if we're partnered with multiple institutes as well, is that these standards will be transferable to every single institute we're partnered with, which is once again just an ease of access for students.
Yeah, and if possible, I think I would streamline this at the Caladrian University. I'll make sure that new students just need to essentially write their papers, and we'll make sure at the institute to format the papers for them in accordance to the publication standard.
What I'm going to do eventually is I'm going to make a proper guide video for this as well, which actually goes into detail about how to do it properly, because I feel like that's kind of once again a burden that is a burden we should have upon us as a guild, is that if we expect a standard, we should also teach the standard.
Yeah.
Like, so that we don't expect people to like go out of their way to like go into important info and click into our publication standards, right? I don't think that's super realistic that they will like go through that. Of course, we try to keep it clear where it is for anyone who doesn't know. We have our publication standards pinned in the paper publications forum channel. But once again, I will make a video on this eventually. I might write one up this week, since I'm not going to be doing any administrative work for the guild right now. So that's ideally will come out within the next within April probably. Institute papers must follow guild publication standards. This is to ensure that standard is upheld with an institute that is transferable between them and guild publications. I love when Grammarly doesn't know what I'm trying to write. With publications. Now, the question is... Okay, so we've talked about this before. Institute need to... I think that an institute should be... I'm not sure what you think, Infra, should... about the institutes courses being free. Because ideally in the future... we would provide funding instead as well.
Well, my opinion is that the top candidates should be able to have free education, but if there is a massive surplus of students, those students who didn't make the list should pay for the courses. Now, I'm all for like everyone being able to audit the course, but not being able to like do the tests or essentially have a grade and pass the course.
So what you mean is that basically is that the people actually attend. There's a difference between people attending courses and the people listening in on the courses. Anyone can listen in on the courses for a fee, and the people who actually have been accepted don't have to pay.
No. Everyone has the opportunity to listen to the courses, even if they haven't paid. So even if they are not accepted, but being able to be graded and to actually be on the list, like this person is auditing this course, that is determined by if they pass the entrance exam or something.
Right.
So knowledge should be free in the essence of being able to acquire knowledge, but the actual cost of like administration should be essentially compensated by certain students having some sort of course fee.
Okay. Because the way I feel like students should. I don't think it should be something that you pay for. However, I feel like students should. Like, let's say there are some people on SolWorks who cannot pay for shit, right? But they might be like the best person for the course. So, I think to the best of their abilities, they should be. That institutes have to be able to make exceptions to it.
Yeah, I agree completely. Yeah.
Institute courses should only accept payment. Institutes should only accept payments to the best of to the student's ability, based on the student's ability to pay. To pay and be able to make exceptions for students who are projected to exceed in the course. Excel in the course, sorry. I see. Entrance exams may be held for courses if entrance exams may be held for courses if the course justifies the knowledge required to attend. Courses may course lectures. Entrance exams may be held for courses. An institute itself should not have entrance exams like as to get into the institute itself, but specifically for courses.
Yeah, I had the same discussion with PD because he also teaches courses at the Caledon University.
Yeah.
And we came to the conclusion that having a unified entrance exam isn't very good for the university.
May also ask for personal letters from as a part of the application process to gauge interest and ability, interest in the course and their motivation towards it. This is to ensure that the students who will apply themselves and are this is to ensure that students who will apply themselves and are serious about learning will be given priority in admission. I think this is good. A partner institution must publication standards. Institutes should only accept payments as payments based on the student's ability to pay and be able to make exceptions for students who are projected to excel in the course but can't afford the entry fee. Entrance. Let's write may, because should makes it see institutes. It makes it seem like they should take payment. I think they may take payment. Doesn't mean they should, but they may. Entrance exams may be held specifically for courses if the course justifies the knowledge required to attend. Course lecturers may also ask for personal letters as part of the application process to gauge interest in the course and their gauge the applicant's interest in the course and their motivation towards it. This is to ensure that the students that will apply themselves and are serious about learning will be given priority in admission. I think this is perfectly fair.
I would add, because you added a sort of a motivational letter that students can submit, maybe add an option of submitting a maximum of 2 recommendation letters from specific members of the Philosophers Guild.
An applicant may also send a lecturer letters of recommendation from guild scholars or other lecturers, I think.
Yeah. That sounds good.
Yep. Now the question is I don't think we would require anything else, really. Let's see. The SW Philosophers Guild will offer marketing for courses and help find lectures for the institute's courses. The guild will take on a burden to ensure an inflow of students or activity to the institutes. Oh yeah, this too. It's something I thought of. Institutes will also have a say in further development or changes in guild publication standards to better suit their needs in academic writing. So basically, if we update our publication standards, we will directly communicate with institutes to make sure that our standards are beneficial for institutes as well. Because of course,
that sounds good.
That just makes sense.
Here's a question. How would you gauge if an institute isn't performing well enough?
Um, honestly, census data is probably. Actually, you are the statistics guy. How would you do it?
It's really hard to essentially establish a metric from this perspective due to the fact that I have no data. But how I would do it is essentially there should be some sort of input from the actual institute. So
Yeah.
maybe how I would do it is you had a sort of a requirement that for example for a student to become an adept, they need to finish a course.
Yeah.
During that process, you would essentially give them some sort of survey to fill out. That survey should have some sort of numeric values. So how I would gauge it is essentially I would take the number of students and find the actual mean of their results. So for example, if they grade the university courses, there should be, for example, a grade from 1 to 10.
Right.
Then all of those grades would be essentially added, and then I would effectively divide it by not the number of students who did the actual survey, but the total number of students that have joined the institute in, let's say, a month's period. That would essentially create a much better metric due to the fact that if, for example, you have two institutes, they get the same number of students, but for example, one institute has twice as less students than the first one finishing the courses, then there's a problem with the institute. Maybe the courses are too hard, maybe the lecturers aren't doing their job. So my recommendation from this perspective is for you to essentially just say that there will be a transparent public metric which will determine the efficiency of each institute. And as time goes on, you will essentially refine that metric and find some sort of baseline.
Yes, there will be a public metric which grades institutes on their ability to, what should we say, ability to my brain is frying. Ability to provide results and
quality education.
Quality education. This will be done upon completion. Data of what would you say? What did you say? We gather the data from the students when they complete a course to see.
Yeah, so the data used in the metric will be data gathered from students and lecturers who have finished courses and finished teaching a course respectively. But this is an interesting problem, finding a good enough metric to actually quantify the performance of a university.
Yeah. We'll probably do it in the form of a Google Doc. Which gauges satisfaction and grade and from which grade is from students in the course and the grades lecturers give them in said course. I think it's a good way to start, at least. So like if we need to see like are the students actually responding to the education? Like, are they responding positively? Do they feel like they're getting what they came for? And the lecturers will go in and say, "Oh, these are the grades we've given. These are the results we've gotten." I think that is. I'll work on a Google form for this. Right now, I can't really come up with that. I'm gonna do something real quick. I'm gonna go to the toilet because I've been sitting here for 1 hour 15.
Okay.
In the meantime, Infrapaxis will tell you all about his bedrock ceiling paper.
Well, there's not much to talk about. The paper, essentially, I came up with the idea when I developed a script which scraped demographic data from the server. And then I started visualizing the data. I saw patterns, and then I realized that there is a correlation between a nation's size and its population. I then further investigated specific stability parameters. So I effectively figured out the position of each of those relationships in a let's say an area which is effectively the 90% of nations. And because of specific statistical and mostly mathematical relationships, the data was positioned in such a way that it allowed me to postulate an existence of a stable nation. This theoretical nation would effectively have around 10% of the total land mass area occupied and have an approximate number of 7,000 citizens. And from that, I effectively postulated also that the actual stability of that point would infer some sort of dynamic. So the actual stability, for example, if the point moved in some way, I could maybe predict if something was happening on a macroscopic level, some sort of war or population redistribution. So, for example, massive migrations could be predicted from the movement of that theoretical point. If the point was stable, meaning that it maybe oscillated between, let's say, in a finite area, we could also postulate that the distribution of population versus size is somewhat of a stable law, and that would infer that people in Abexilis follow a certain pattern. So yeah, that's the gist of the paper. It's essentially the first paper in a series, because there are lots more statistically significant results that I found, but I just haven't found the time to write it all out. I have it as a collection of Python scripts that I made. I just need to write the text for each of those. And I'm also working on 3 different papers, so essentially time is currently the problem. I need to reorganize my time to write everything out.
All right, awesome. I was talking to Dread earlier, and he actually I started talking about this claim, and I was like, okay, I mean, a lot of people talk about making big claims, and then they don't have the population to like warrant it. And Dread straight up cited your paper, so you've made some impact.
Wow. Yeah, that's actually amazing. That was my goal from the start. So having something which people can use, because when I first joined the guild, which was like 3 weeks ago,
Yeah.
I started talking in chat, and I know some people were like, no, this is a very complex system. Players have their own will, so on and so forth. That there aren't any like statistical significance in this,
Yeah.
and there is some truth to it. Like, for the past, let's say, a month, I've been tracking the wealth of each nation, and there is some like very very chaotic noise, which is mostly due to the fact that shops generate a steady income during the day, and there's like a period of like every 18 hours you just see a drop in specific wealth in
Yeah.
specific towns, which are essentially just shops, and there is some noise in that regard. But there are some patterns that I have noticed, like, there's something called a Gini coefficient, which is in real life used to model the inequality in a given nation, but it's mostly like inequality in regards to personal wealth in like a country.
Right.
But if you apply the same theory to like Abexilus, you see a massive inequality, and
Right.
that inequality is mostly generated by these small nations who have large amounts of funds.
Yeah.
But yeah, I can't believe
Totally.
it has been like maybe less than 24 hours, and
Yeah.
someone's
No.
already started to cite my paper.
The thing is, I think a lot of people actually do read the publications. Probably not everyone. But I very much appreciate that they do, and the fact that because I think he like straight up said, well, the Infrapaxis paper on the bedrock ceiling says that it's like 7,000 people is the biggest population size, and I was like, crazy. They're citing in person, but that's actually lovely. That is what we want to see.
Yeah, I
I love
got literal goosebumps. So,
that.
but yeah, I agree. Like this morning, I read the reflections on positive emotions
Hmm.
while drinking my morning coffee. So, yeah, there's that effect that it has now become, let's say, a sort of tradition in these past week or so, that every day I read at least one paper, so
Yeah.
I'm acquainted with people's work.
Yeah, totally. I read your new publication that you've submitted while at the gym. Between sets, I'd sit down
Wow.
with a phone and like read.
Yeah.
I find that to be an effective way to do it because my mind is I have so much energy, so I might as well. Yes, Madison, you should read all the publications, every single one.
Yeah. On that note, I have been working on my new publication this afternoon. I realized that I've already written like 10 pages, and I'm still at the introduction phase. So I think I need to split this, because I have found some interesting like inconsistencies which aren't actually related to Abexus but with Minecraft.
Right.
And I don't know. In my eyes, it seems like revolutionary, because I'm essentially combining Fighting Flames Arcanics with
Right.
I don't know. Let me check the name of the author. Uh, pu- 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 yeah, the formal system of recipe documentation.
Yeah. That one
So
was
yeah,
really, really good, in my opinion.
yeah. I'm essentially trying to upgrade both of their theories because in my perspective, both theories have something great, which is a very good way of categorizing physical and chemical effects. But in that light, they do not bring any sort of additional information
Mm.
because they're essentially just restructuring something which is known and
Right.
finding the least amount of information that you need to effectively describe something.
Right.
What I'm mostly interested in finding new sources of information.
Right.
So essentially just taking known effects and then considering what can you extract from those.
Yeah, totally. Uh, what do you think about opinion pieces? Because I mostly write argumentative opinion pieces, basically, since I do continental philosophy, which is more in the veins of, well, what really is life? What is death? What is morality? You know, that kind of stuff. That don't really have a ground in in any. You can actually find analytical grounds for it, but most of the time it is more so about what what am I thinking about a certain thing, essentially.
Mm,
Of
yeah,
course, I try to back that up, but that in itself is its own thing.
yeah. At my university, the College of Philosophy effectively is just a one big course in analytical philosophy.
Yeah.
So, and I know some of my colleagues have argued that they would like a bit more continental philosophy.
Yeah.
So I get that. And I also get their struggle because they have a hard time of just switching. But
Yeah.
some of them who have switched can have a very hard time grasping the concepts and trying to fit both perspectives.
Yeah.
Um, I would like to see more of like opinion pieces being published, like reflections on because I'm still under the influence. Reflections on positive emotion, I really liked. I think there are some contradictions which I plan on publishing as a critique,
Right.
but it's still on the drawing boards phase.
Yeah, totally. And I think that's actually really good. I actually want to see more people like with their own papers interact with other papers and be like, well, this is your idea. Here's my idea. You know? And what could be interesting is if we get like two people who kind of write papers at each other, getting them in like a room together and actually doing like a proper debate between them would be very interesting.
Well, I think that is bound to happen sooner or later.
For sure.
One example I can give is I have now written a paper citing fighting flames organics, so that could be an interesting take due to the fact that I think he as the author and me as a person who essentially is influenced by his theory but am trying to develop a sort of different perspective to organics.
Yeah.
It could be an interesting debate.
Yeah, I think so too. It's like getting a Sharroist versus, I don't know, random capitalist, I guess. But I think that, and this is something we want to do with a YouTube channel and kind of streaming as we're doing, is to like give more engagement to both the philosophy in the guild, the thoughts in the guild, bringing like having proper debates and stuff like that people can watch or like turn on in the background while they're gaming or whatever, cooking food. And things outside Stoneworks Philosophy. For instance, me and Flum are gonna be making a video on the stigmatization of pride. Not, this isn't a LGBT thing. It's more of a you might have run into like when somebody's proud of something and somebody says stop boasting.
Yeah.
Which is a fairly common thing, and that's kind of what we'll be talking about and exploring.
Yeah, that sounds interesting. I recommend you continue down the road. I know you published like a video, like an interview with I can't remember who.
Askeladd.
Yeah, about his paper. I personally would like to see more of that, like papers which have become sort of popular, and you bringing people in for like a round of interview questions where people can get more acquainted with like the perspective of the author, and then if they haven't read the paper, they can effectively get a deeper understanding before actually reading the paper.
Yeah, totally. Or maybe they have read the paper and the author can give extra insight.
Yeah, exactly.
Definitely, and I definitely want to do that more. I might, depending on how crazy you go with publications, I might just pull you in for one. Because once again, you've already been cited in casual convo.
Well, I would be honored. You can expect more papers in the future. Like I think by the end of the week I'll be able to finish 2 more papers. But I'll see. I don't know what my schedule is for the rest of the week.
Right. I mean, right now, what I'm doing this week is the video with Flum, nothing else. I'm gonna be leaning back. I need to send in some high school grades to. I need to send in my high school grades to the universities I've applied to for philosophy.
Nice,
so that's
nice.
also something. I'm like the oldest, like, applying to university, 24.
I disagree.
I mean, some people go like when they're like 30 or 40.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Like I'm one of the older students in my class due to the fact that I was first in majoring in computer engineering.
Right.
And now I've switched to nanoelectronics and photonics. So I know what it feels like. But if you like philosophy, go for it. It will be the best decision you will make in your life.
The crazy thing is, I studied at community college before. I took for like a year. I took a personal training license. Which is probably the very fun. But yes, so I think we kind of have everything we need now for this framework, and definitely I'm gonna be in touch with you for the possibility of like doing an interview, because I think doing an interview with you would be very fascinating. And if we decide on it, I'll write up like in broad senses what we'll be going over. I'll send it to you, and we'll like, you can like approve it, or it'll be like, well, I want to talk about this too, and we'll just figure out something that works.
That sounds great. Thanks.
All right. Thank you for coming on and helping out with this and sharing your talking about your paper while I was off and busy on the toilet. That's awesome. I'm gonna hop off and close down the stream. Thank you to the one person who is watching. Might be you, might be Madison. Not entirely sure. And I'll see you, man.
Yeah, see you.
All right, bye.